Alright, so this past weekend we got our sixth and final film in the Sony Spider-Man universe, the Spider-Man villain universe without Spider-Man in it. You can go several names for this, like the Sony Spider-Man list villain universe or the villain verse, whatever. Anyways, we're ranking them. Alright, before I get started, please make sure to subscribe, like button, and comment down below what is your ranking of the Sony villain I don't know what I'm going to call it. Probably just going to title this one the Sony villain verse ranking, because it's just what I've been calling them, but the universe doesn't have an official name. It's one of the worst universes out there. It's one of the worst cinematic universes that anyone could ever make. I mean, this holds dear to my least favorite movie of all time, and then there's barely a good movie on here. So yeah, this is going to be a very fun ranking. And with that said, let's jump right into it with number 6, which is my least favorite movie of all time, Morbius. Believe it or not, once upon a time I was looking forward to watching this. I liked the trailer. I thought the trailer was fine. I didn't have any problems with the trailer. And then we got the movie. I watched it after a long day of sitting on a bus on my way to Texas for a church camp. I watched it on my phone on the way there. Maybe that's why I didn't like it. So I watched it first thing when I got home. Didn't like it then. I was like, okay. So it's not just because I was exhausted. It's because it's a terrible movie. And then, a couple days later, my mother said, hey family, let's watch Morbius. I watched it 3 times in a week. And that just adds to the hatred of a movie that Sony put no care into whatsoever. I hate getting mad over movies like this, because at a point in time we gotta know what to expect. We gotta know what to know, that these aren't good movies. Some of them can be entertaining, but they're not good movies. So why do I get so stinking mad about Morbius? It's because, and the reason why I'm not screaming is because currently I'm filming this at 1 in the morning, so my family's sleeping. I'm not going to wake them up. But at one point in time, I could be screaming because of how much I hate this movie. I have so many points. It's a movie that Sony doesn't care about. It's a movie that Sony, being so freaking stupid in all of their geniusness, decided, hey, this movie flopped to the box office the first time. The internet's making fun of it. Let's release it again. Where could that go wrong? I have no idea. It's a movie that stars Jared Leto, an Oscar-winning actor. It's a movie that's directed by, I'd say, someone who can direct competent movies, I think. And it's a movie with no care. It's a movie that from the very beginning it's like, okay, yeah, we got this mindless story. We're going to make it boring as we possibly can. We'll have it make no sense. And then it'll try to add like a fun scene of Matt Rose dancing to a song saying, let's have sex or something like that. Yeah, it's boring. It's got no care. It just pisses me off that the fact that this studio that made the Spider-Man movies, they made Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, they made all of these movies, these fantastic movies. What do? They come out with Morbius, this boring slab of utter nonsense, utter terrible bullcrap that I just can't. I can't with this movie. It gets me in such a whirl when I talk about it. And then having the balls to release it twice. They're thinking about releasing a third time. They flat out just said a couple weeks ago, or this past week, that they believe that this movie, if they release it again, is going to be profitable. What? Didn't you already test that? Didn't you already test that theory? I can't with this movie. I really can't with this movie. I hate this movie. I hate this movie. It's my least favorite movie of all time. Let's move on to number 5, Madam Web. Now, I went into this one hearing all these bad things about it. Went into it expecting Morbius. What I got was entertaining for all the wrong reasons. I mean, the story makes no sense. It's filled with terrible ADR. The CGI is horrible. But there's some fun to be had. I mean, the cast is all horrible, but they're laughably bad. Get my term, laughably, so you can laugh at the movie. There's like sequences that just make no sense. Constantly in this movie, it's trying to tie itself to Spider-Man without. So like you have Madam Web going to this party and sitting there and being like, hey, why don't we play this guessing game? What's the name of my baby? What's the name of my baby? My name's May Parker, or Mary Parker. What's the name of my baby? What's the name of my baby? Like, and then all of a sudden a balloon pops and they can't say Peter. They can't say Peter because, you know, get it? It's Peter Parker. So just so many times where that happens. I mean, the whole finale filled with a horrible ADR, terrible CGI, is shaky cam, so you don't even know what's going to happen. And then it's like an origin story for Spider-Girl's boss. Like, it's a bizarre story. It's a bizarre format for what it is. Where the marketing was so heavily reliant on the Spider-Girls. And you get one scene of them in their suits, and then the finale. And not the finale, but like the final 2 minutes. And that's it. So, like, laughably bad stuff. It's not as offensive or as just blamelessly stupid as Morbius was. Actually, it's more stupid than Morbius, but boring. And I think this worked because I saw it with my brother and the rest of my family. But my brother, like, from the very first sequence, he got all the spider people climbing on the wall. Laughably bad stuff. And so I enjoyed this movie. Don't think I'd ever watch it again. Not good. Not good whatsoever. But it's better than Morbius, which is the highest compliment I can ever give a movie. Number 4, we're going with Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Now, these Venom movies aren't necessarily my thing. They are 100% my family's thing. They love these Venom movies. But for me, they're just not my thing. They're just really not my type of movie. I always just feel like the story, the pacing, all that doesn't work. And, of course, it's part of the Sony Spider-Man-less universe. So, obviously, it's not very good. And this is the my least favorite out of all of them, which hurts because this is the movie with Carnage. Carnage is the bad guy in this movie. An awesome Spider-Man villain. And Woody Harrelson is great. This should be my favorite out of all of them. But it decides to do the sequel thing. And that means add more plot lines that don't make sense to drag the movie down even more. And then the thing that works for these Venom movies, the only bit of enjoyment I get out of these Venom movies are Tom Hardy and Venom's chemistry. It's laughably funny. And what do they do for this movie? They separate the two. They completely separate the two, so for half the movie, you don't even get the best part of these Venom movies. Now, like I said, there are some positives here again. The Venom action's still cool. Carnage, much better villain. The best villain out of all these in the franchise. So there are some very cool sequences here. But just for me, if you're going to split the two Venom, if you're going to split the things that make this movie work, you can't do that because then you just kind of forget what makes the movie work. Number 3, kicking off our top 3, if you can really even call it a top 3, is the original Venom. Now, this is a movie that the first half of it, or more like the first 30 to 45 minutes of it, kind of like a slow burn, kind of works. Like, we're following the downfall of Eddie, and then he gets Venom in his body. And it goes from way low to, oh, yeah, let's go. Oh, speed up, plotline, bottle, into the movie. And that's kind of what happens here. And it goes from, hey, this is really interesting, to, whoa, what just happened? What? Okay, the movie's over. I need a nap. That's how I feel every time I watch this movie. Now, this movie gets more positive in my mouth because it's very popular in my family. This is the one Venom movie that's on 4 or 5 times a year. My brother likes this movie. My mom loves this movie. My dad likes this movie. And so, for me, like, it's not necessarily my thing, but it's always in my house. And that way, it's kind of become a cult classic. It's a cult classic that's not good. It's got the rushed finale. Obviously, still, the Eddie and Venom stuff is still good, but they're still separated for most of the movie, so not necessarily the best in there. But there are aspects that work here. Like I said, the first 45 minutes are pretty good. But the rest of the movie is just like, speed up, plotline, into the movie. And it just kind of makes me go from like, that's really good to, whoa, where did that all come from? Second place, our newcomer, and this is where I can go from the movies are mid to bad to, I had a fun time with this one. Kraven the Hunter is number 2. I had a fun time with it. I know a lot of people are hating on this movie. For me, it's got enough to where, as a movie in general, I can enjoy that I will watch again. Because it's a rated R action revenge thriller. I enjoy movies like that. So, obviously, I enjoyed this film. Because you got all the brutal action sequences. When there's action, I think it's not the best, but it's still pretty good. It's rated R, so you got Kraven taking bear traps, smacking them on people's head, just blood and guts blowing everywhere. It's entertaining. It's an action thriller, and I like action thrillers, so that's what really works for me. And I did enjoy this movie. I had fun watching it. Now, there are aspects that are just mind-blowingly bad. The character of Echo is horrible. We start introducing a sequel at the end of the movie that is just like, why? Because we know we're not getting a sequel for this, so why are you trying to set one up? But just for me, I find that it's an entertaining movie. Not just as an entertaining as it's laughably bad, but because this is a movie that typically, when I'm like not wanting to watch some series, I'll just turn a movie like this on to just watch some blood, guts, and people getting screwed up. And that's a movie I enjoy. And so I had enough fun with it. I did enjoy this movie. But my favorite Sony villain Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man in it is going to be Venom: The Last Dance. And when I said I don't like the Venom franchise, gotta kind of exclude this one because I kind of enjoyed this one. I really did enjoy this one. And that's because this is the one movie where until the final 10 minutes of it, Venom, Eddie, on screen the whole time. You have all the funness, all the chemistry, all the laughable stuff that these two do, and that's really what works for it. Is it ridiculously dumb? Yes. You got a sequence where you can't turn into Venom when you're getting attacked, but you'll sure turn into Venom to go dance with Mrs. Chin. Ridiculous stuff. But it's funny. And so I can't lie, I had a great time. Plus, the other two Venom movies kind of made me feel like I needed to take a nap almost instantly afterwards. This one was just kind of like, hey, I didn't feel like I was sitting in a theater seat for 4 hours. I felt like I was here for 90 minutes tops, which is another thing that really works. Noel, introduced here, not utilized at all. Very disappointing aspect there. But besides that, I had a really fun time with this movie. This is a movie that I genuinely had a really fun time with and went out not feeling like, oh, okay, that was, again, underwhelming, should have been better. I felt like I actually like that. I actually like that. I will always really enjoy out of this franchise, and that's why it's number 1. Alright guys, thank you for clicking on this video. That was my ranking of all 6 Sony villain movies without Spider-Man in them. So let me know down below what is your ranking of them. Stay tuned for a Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Mufasa reviews coming very soon. With that said, subscribe, join the Army. Peace out.